about the sweetest welcome I've ever had. My name's Taylo. I'm an alcoholic. There's a lot of people here. But gosh, I see so many of my detox people here, and I'm so proud of all of y'all, and even got a past client there. Anyhow, I love coming here. I love seeing all the people that are making it and being successful one day at a time with Alcoholics Anonymous. And like those of you with the 90-day, day to 90-day type of thing or whatever, welcome to all of you. Keep coming back. Only miracles and great things ahead. And I'm not saying it's all easy, because it surely is not. But the cool thing about speaking at this time of year, which is kind of today, I was cataloging my year a little bit and thinking about all that's changed for me. So my sobriety date is January 13th, 2006. But just thinking about, like, goodness, almost 14 years and all the stuff that's happened and changed, and how different my life is today than then. And the way that I keep track of my sobriety date year, because my memory is not all that great, is because my daughter was born in 2005, and anyway, so I lost custody of her immediately at the hospital due to the situations in my life, and by God's grace, I did get her back 3 months later, but that's always, I think about her being born in 2005, and my sobriety date is like the next year. Anyhow, so my name's Taylor. I'm an alcoholic, and I seem to be the only person in my family with this disease, so like we think about it's a family disease, lots of times there's a genetic component. Nobody else is owning up to it in my family, but I damn sure got it. And, probably like most of y'all, the behavior started young. I got caught shoplifting when I was 10. I got caught smoking when I was 10. And like all that just seemed like a good idea. You like have the disease of more. Well, I didn't have the money to afford, so I just feel like I'd take it. And then we were taking my dad's cigarettes, my grandmother's cigarettes, and we were made the mistake was going up to the country store and asking for cigarettes for all these different people with the money that we had stolen. Anyways, at 10 years old, so that was the beginning of my story. Come to think about it, I think I did have my first drink at 10 as well. And some of y'all that have heard me before, it wasn't very enjoyable because I didn't know what I was doing. And vermouth, like nothing good about that. But that was the bottle that we happened to, I'll never forget that though. Yeah, that was a bad start, and I thought this is not going to work out very well. Anyways, but yeah, that was the first one, wasn't the last one. So I guess probably by the time I was 12, we were hitting up the parents' liquor cabinet. We'd get a bottle. We had mopeds. We're living at Hilton Head Island. Me and my girlfriend, she'd lie and say she's spending the night with me, and vice versa. And I'd go to the liquor cabinet and put just a little bit of everything in there so that I'd have some and they wouldn't notice what they were missing, type of thing. And yeah, I guess it probably tastes like hairspray or something, but I didn't care because, I was drinking for effect. And that drinking for effect, I did develop in my life of addiction a problem with a lot of other substances, but anything I used, I was always using for effect. Anyways, and because I would drink and get sick or drink and pass out, I needed a little something to keep me going so I could drink more, and that's kind of how that went. So by the time I was 16, I would say, every weekend, and part of it was my dad and my grandmother pretty much raised me and my sister. My mom left at a young age. Well, I was young. And he was very gullible and naive and had no idea all that I was actually up to, and he'd actually give us money for parties, and we had the big lake across the street, and so buy all kinds of beer sometimes he'd purchase it for us or give it to one of our friends who was 19. I think the drinking age was 19 for a while back then. And we'd have these big parties, and I was having a vision over there sitting with my husband a few minutes ago of me being, everybody remember Stony Brook? I mean, that was an occasion just made for us. But of me being passed out, like with the American flag covered over me when I was probably 15, 16 years old, drinking that PJ. Ooh, that was some strong stuff. Anyhow, so I went to college at Appalachian First School. That was first out of like 7, and I guess if you count the ones I've been to since I've been in recovery, maybe 9. I was good at not finishing things and having a good idea, but yeah, so college at Appalachian, every weekend I actually came home because I had a boyfriend here, but like he was not getting into trouble, and I was. So I remember feeling the desolation type of thing of my disease of addiction already when I was probably 18, 19, thinking about every time I drive back to school and I think about all the stuff I screwed up on the weekend, I was thinking about like driving off a bridge or something. So already feeling that hopeless feeling at a young age. Anyhow, so we did Appalachian, ECU. Those are 2 great party schools if anybody's looking for a school. Then came back and did some Sand Hills, and somewhere in there I met this man from Robbins. I was trying to remember how I met him, but I just did. Anyways, I had a friend. I was working at Belk's, and this biker friend of mine or whatever had come there and asked me if I wanted to go up to Robbins, another dangerous territory. Anyways, go up to Robbins, and we did, and I met this man who looked like he kind of could fit into this one world but had this other life, and he was the first guy that I ever met that partied hardy. I usually had like my straight friends or my party friends and then the straight boyfriends. So this is where I crossed the line, and I think I was 20, 21, somewhere around there. The first person that I ever was in a relationship who used and drank like I did. And that was detrimental. Anyhow, and you know, I always looked at like he was worse than I was. But he had 20 years more practice than me because he was 20 years older than me, and the fact that I was his 4th wife at 21 didn't seem like an issue to me at the time. So I was obviously making some real good decisions. Anyway, so I guess 2022, somewhere around there. So like I said, my calendar years aren't great. 22, 23, went to prison, got my name on the front page of the paper. We had a nice arrest that was connected, and God, that was scary, you know, like being young like that, going to prison. And I remember being in prison and thinking I'll never do any of that again, or you know, live like this again. And I think it was about 2 days when I was out, like, and it was kind of the same old thing. My life changed dramatically. I remember sleeping on a mattress on a piece of plywood on wooden horses underneath the shed. That was my discharge plan from prison because I didn't have anywhere to go. So I had already like run out all the people in my life at a young age. And like I said, so nobody in my family really understood what was going on. And I will give my mom credit, even though she left at a young age, she was the only parent who ever came to a family program. So I'm very grateful to her for that. That was out of the 4 treatment centers that I went to. First one at 21, Bonnie, my sponsor, was my counselor. So yeah, that was 30 years ago. And how cool that life has taken a full turn like that for me. Anyhow, yeah, so, and, you know, like, thinking that I got it, that was my worst enemy as far as this disease of addiction went for me. At Pinehurst Treatment Center, I was patient rep my 3rd week, and I, you know, thought I had it going on. And that I got this thing, and I remember they said go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Well, that was the only direction that I followed. That part about sponsorship, well, steps, yeah, I read them. But I really didn't realize that wasn't doing them at the time. I mean, like you don't know till you know type of thing. But I promise, if there's anybody in here tonight who hasn't had the opportunity of working the steps with a sponsor, you're totally missing out on the miracle and the freedom in recovery. And I had one of the ladies that I'm sponsoring back there, she and I are on the 4th step. I know it's a hard time, and I've probably known her longer than I've known any of y'all in here, and picked her up a few times. We fell out of my car one time. I took her to the hospital. It's been an adventure with her. But this is some years ago, but I'm so glad that she's here tonight and that she wants to get sober. So you never know. I always tell people, I got all the family members I'm talking to. I do work at the detox facility, which is also awesome that I happen to be working at the place where I went to treatment 30 years ago. Not the same, in the same, for the same kind of hospital type of thing. But anyhow, how awesome my life has taken so many turns. And getting to work at detox, talking to the family members, and I always say, as long as they still have air in their lungs, breath in their lungs, there's still hope. Because we hurt a lot of people. I know I did specifically get people's hope built back up. My 4 attempts in treatment, I wanted to go each time. I committed myself. It was my decision to go. I wanted things to be different. Seriously and sincerely went in there with all the right intentions, and I think that the disease of addiction, you have distorted perception and distorted thinking, and that I did the best I could with what I had at those times, but it just wasn't my time yet. There was also a time, I was on probation, so it must have been prior to the prison, so somewhere around 21 to 23, however, somewhere around there. And I had a head-on collision. And anyways, I was in the hospital for 7 days, and my family told me that I couldn't come home and they couldn't take care of me, and I wasn't able to walk for 3 months. And this wonderful family who were still very close, that lived in town, they came, and their 14-year-old son gave up his bed for me to have a place to stay. They took care of me and brought me into their home, and I had just gone to the man one time to ask for help because I was already asking. I think I went to my first AA meeting when I was 19. But anyways, I had gone and asked him for help. They came to see me in the hospital and gave me a place to stay and took care of me in exchange that I would go to church at their church. And I did, and I felt really good when I was there. But I went to prison from their house for screwing up because I couldn't keep it together. So I know how it is to really have all the right intentions and then find yourself at the bottom again and again and again. I guess I should say I felt like I was broken by the time that I got clean and sober this last time, and that there was no fixing me. The first and second treatment centers were 12-step treatment centers, so by the time I had failed at 2 of those, I said that doesn't work for me. So the third time, I was dating a really nice guy at the time because my treatment centers were spread out every 4 or 5 years. So I'd go to treatment and I'd do relatively well for a couple of years, and then I'd spend another couple of years kind of tearing it back down. And I was dating a nice guy. He told me I could go anywhere in the country I wanted to for treatment. So I chose this place in Oklahoma. I wanted to go somewhere far away. I wanted to go long term, and it was called Narconon. And I did learn some cool stuff there, and nothing's wrong with the program that they offer, but it wasn't 12-step because 12-step doesn't work for me. Well, come to find out, you get out of a place, you lie. Met a guy in there who was married, but he was going to get divorced, and so he got divorced, and I went down to Florida, and anyways, but it's still about not following directions, not being honest. That's what I couldn't do that part. If somebody gave me some directions, my rule was the rules are there are no rules, and if somebody told me to do something, I was going to do the opposite. I a rebel without a cause, and I'm sure plenty of y'all can relate to that. There's a price that goes with that, and the fact that we're all breathing and alive in this room to talk about it is amazing. I forgot my watch tonight, so my husband was nice enough to give me his. Anyways, yeah, so I can remember, like, I did really have a lot of fun drinking alcohol, so, like, I don't want to be like it was all bad, and I think it's important to remember the good times as well, but not get stuck on them. Alcohol made me brave. I was never, like, really one of, some people say they were shy or whatever. I was never shy, but it was liquid courage for me, and I can remember doing just stupid stuff. I remember being at the beach, driving. I had some kind of little Honda car or something, but, like, on one of the side roads, it must have been garbage night. Everybody had the big black garbage cans out by the road, and I'm just boom, boom, not running into them with my car, watching everything fly everywhere. That was fun. That was entertainment. Never thinking about the consequences. That's what it was. Never thinking about the consequences. As I said, I'd get sick a lot. Can remember, like, a Christmas party, all the Christmas lights out in the bushes. I was usually the first one to get sick. But anyway, so I'm out there throwing up, like, crawling in front of the lights with the bushes, like from pile of puke to pile of puke to pile of puke, and then drinking more. The insanity of alcoholism. Anyhow, yeah, so that was, I got divorced. He served me divorce papers while I was in prison. And I got divorced, and I didn't ever get married again until last year, which was cool. So I was 29 years single, so he pretty much sprung me on that marriage thing, I thought. But then I got a really nice guy in recovery. And you girls, I have to say, like, that was 11 years of next to no date, and only dated 3 people, maybe 3 months or something. But that 11 years of time by myself, time with my daughter, I was the single mom all that time, was the best thing I could have ever done for myself, especially in the fact that I didn't care much for myself. So, like, water seeks its own level. We attract people like us or whatever. And I did attract other unhealthy people for sure when I was in active addiction. And then when I'd straighten myself up, I'd attract some healthy people. But I think subconsciously feeling unworthy of love, unworthy of trust, unworthy of good things, that I always sabotaged my life, because at the end of the day I didn't feel worthy and I didn't feel like I deserved anything good. So in the 11 years that I had single, I was able to learn to like myself. I remember so that was treatment 3 was Narconon in Oklahoma, 4.5 months. And then treatment 4 was at Adak in Black Mountain, because I was living over in the mountains at the time, and it was 2 weeks, and it was the state treatment center, and it was like the bomb. So it's not really, I always tell people, because I work trying to help people find treatment from detox, and it's not about where you go. If the person's ready, you can get the message anywhere you go. Like, you can get it in AA. I'm so glad they took that I had a place to go to lock me up for a couple weeks to kind of get me away from myself. But it was amazing there. The slogans, like, I'm like, oh, that's what that meant. That's what that meant, Stuff that I had been hearing all along finally made sense to me. I remember talking about the guilt and shame associated with addiction, and that really made sense to me. The shame part especially. And then I remember they had us write a letter to, like, the drugs and alcohol. I don't know if any of y'all been treatment done through that process, which I thought it was a good process. Anyways, and then write a letter to yourself. Well, I had written the letters to drugs and alcohol before in previous treatments, and I remember, like, when I was younger, being really mad at drugs and alcohol for how they had taken things from me and affected my life. And by the time I was in treatment number 4, the last one, when I wrote a letter to drugs and alcohol, I didn't have any emotion. And then when I wrote a letter to myself, it started off F.U. Taylor. So that is where my addiction took me. I totally hated myself. And if anybody's in here tonight feeling like that, it's a process, but this program can help you heal. When I said the process of the steps, that's the beauty, because I became a person I could stand. I became a person I could like. And, not all about loving myself, but I do love myself today. And that was something I never thought would be possible. Also, learning the power of forgiveness. The power of forgiveness, like resentment, we can't do the resentments very well, but my number one resentment was at myself. And as long as I hated myself, I was never going to allow myself to get better. So that's also important. Anyhow, looking at all these chips up here, that's kind of cool. And I usually have mine in my pocket, but I keep on losing it, so I'll be looking forward to getting a new one next month. But I like to have it in my pocket so that I feel it there, like it's just a tangible sign of my recovery. I'm not a woman who carries a purse. I like to have everything in my pockets if I can. But taking that out, like at the store or whatever, sometimes other people, notice it, type of thing. It can be a conversation piece, and sometimes you'll meet somebody else in recovery that you didn't, you wouldn't have met just for having the chip on you. Let's see, relationships with my family. So I gave you a little bit about my mom. My sister and I were like polar opposites growing up. She was a goody-goody. She was 2 years older than me, and me and my little friends in the 7th, 8th grade calling her the goody-goody. Said something for how she was and how I was, and I don't know if I truly hated her, but I didn't like her. But today we are neighbors and we are close friends, and we're still very different people. But like from where I was at the end of my addiction, I never thought that I would be her neighbor. So going a little bit towards the end of my addiction, I did everything in my addiction that I said that I'd never do. Love Alcoholics Anonymous, but at the end of my addiction, I became an IV drug user and an alcoholic, and that was the last thing that I was never going to do. And in a way, I have to say that I'm glad that it went there, because that'll take you down pretty fast. So I was 37 when I got sober. Well, and I am grateful, because if I'd have been solely an alcoholic, I might still be drinking. But anyhow, that's where my addiction took me. And the life that I have today, I can't believe that it all came from the same. I can't believe I'm the same person. I did invite my daughter to come tonight. She's 14, and she said no. She said no, thank you. Well, it's not till 8 o'clock, and you can tell me about it when you get back. Gosh, I can't even believe she's my child, because she's so good, and I don't know where she came from, really. And that is just God's grace, and she was raised in recovery. So important that I say that she is not my only child. I have a son, and he will turn 16 on January 31st. And same deal. He was taken from me at the hospital due to my lifestyle at the time. And at that time, I was a hopeless alcoholic addict, and I have to say I was relieved. I would have loved to have done something different, but I wasn't capable, So, and I don't mean to be doing like a fifth step up here, but for you girls that have lost your children, have your children in foster care or whatever, or men too, because we all screw up. I just want to say, I totally get it. But that talks about the strength of addiction in our lives, because, it wasn't, I don't know how it just turned out timing-wise that it happened to be where I could get my daughter back. I am very fortunate, God has done well with my son, that his two foster parents actually had been on the adoption list for like 10 years. So they adopted him. He's been with them since day one from the hospital. The lady spent the night with him, 10 nights in the hospital while he was going through recovery from what he had, been exposed to in my womb. And the really cool thing was about 5 years ago, the girl who was my first sponsor, she and her son actually went on a trip to the beach where he was on the trip, and she was able to share some pictures with me. And that's one of the gifts of recovery. Another thing is, like, my daughter's 14, she's known, like, all along that she has a brother and mommy's sick and what happened with her brother. Her foster parents and us, like, we made it a point. I made it a point to see them every 6 months because they had her for a year and 3 months, and they were awesome people. They were angels. They took care of my child when I couldn't. Anyhow, a lot of stuff off addiction here. I'm sorry, but just miracles in my life. So yeah, it got crazy. I was homeless for a while, living in a Christmas tree field. Can't forget that story. One I always like to tell is, like, well, I'm not sure if it was spring or fall, but it was cold at night because it was in the mountains, and I walked a lot. And I can remember there was this little kind of church parking lot. Well, it was in the country in the mountains, so, like, you could disappear pretty easy right off the side of the road or in the parking lot, and it was cold, and I was walking, and I had to take a nap, so walked over to the church parking lot. It was gravel, and built me a little fire because it was chilly, and, like, eat my peanut butter, had a flashlight out, fell asleep, and my jar of peanut butter got in the fire, caught on fire, rolled over, caught my sleeve on fire. I mean, woke up like on fire from the jar of peanut butter and the flashlight. That was where my life was before recovery. Just totally insane. And how did I get to be the one that made it here? I don't know. Both of my children's fathers are dead as a direct result of the disease of addiction. My son's dad was 35 when he died, and he died a week before I actually went to treatment, and his death was a great gift for me because I actually saw that I was going to die too. That was the beginning of my awakening, where I would say, like, God opened up my heart and allowed me to see the truth of my life. There were 4 major incidences. The first one, because I had a kind of a clean-cut look or whatever and still had a driver's license, those are viable skills in the life of alcoholism and addiction. Anyways, but, this boy had come by and asked me about driving to sell some guns, and when he said that, like, we're going to stop and pick them up here, and it was looking like an abandoned house, and they were buried under some leaves underneath the porch. I had an idea they might be a little hot. But anyways, lived right next to the state line, and we drove to, across the state line to Georgia, and he had something already lined up, and, I was in the car. He was gone maybe 30 minutes, whatever, came back with some money. That was all good. And then, like, 2 days later, I heard that he and 2 other people, my people, were arrested and, like, in jail for $150,000 bond, $75,000 bond, something crazy each for selling hot guns across state lines. Now, I was like, damn, that was so close. That could have been me. There was that, and then a girl overdosed at my house, and it was just the 2 of us. And goodness, thank God, a couple gentlemen had come by within the first couple of minutes to help me get her up, get her in the bathtub, turn on the water, all that type of thing. And then, like, 30 minutes later, she's wanting to get high again, and I'm thinking about the 2 times I came to, like, underneath the bathroom sink or wherever, and that was I was just like her, and I, like, being able to see things like, damn, that was me. Anyways, I had a bag packed in my closet to go to treatment for 3 months and couldn't seem to actually get there. So I had called my mom, and she was going to take me. That didn't work out anyways. One of my friends drove me to a place called the Balsam Center in the mountains. And I have to say, the sense of relief when I got there was amazing, just to know that I didn't have to, like, survive. That's all I was doing, was surviving like that anymore. I was there for 14 days, and then went to ADAC, and when I was at ADAC, I remember a lady when I was at treatment. My second treatment was called Davidson Alcohol Care. It's Path of Hope now. But I remember a lady there telling me, like, if you get on your knees and you ask for help and you're sincere in your heart, that you'll get it. Well, I heard what she said, but never did it cross my mind that I might actually need to be the person getting on the knees. Anyhow, but I did that because I remembered what she said when I was at treatment the fourth time, when I was totally desperate to do something different, the gift of desperation and ready to surrender. And I begged God to help me to live a different life, to be willing, to be honest, to do whatever I needed to do, to please show me the way. With tears in my eyes, I remember being on the floor and begging, and haven't found the need to pick up a drug since that time, since I've been in treatment. And since that worked so well, I thought, I need to do this every day. And there are some days that I don't end up on my knees anymore, but my sponsor told me God can hear me no matter where I am. So, and that's a good thing because I got to talk to God in all different kind of places, and I don't always have time to get on my knees. I'll tell you a little funny story from this morning. So, anyhow, I have the opportunity to ride horses now, and for 25 years, I didn't ride. I quit when I was 14 when I started doing all the other stuff. And the only time I got on horses, which there were some kind of in my neighborhood when I was in active addiction, but we'd jump on them in the middle of the night, put a belt around the neck. I'm lucky I didn't get killed. Seemed like a good idea at the time. But anyhow, so we do the fox hunting, but we're usually chasing coyotes these days. And so I hadn't ridden in 2 weeks, and my sister let me ride her nice horse this morning because she had foot surgery. And I'm like, God, please let us have a coyote. And I'm thinking, nope, not supposed to pray for myself. So, and I was like, can we have a coyote for the other people? And I'm like, nope, that's still selfish because I want it for me too, Bonnie. And then I was like, okay, thy will be done. And anyways, 5 minutes later, we got a coyote, but that was because I wasn't praying for selfish reasons, and I just went back to thy will be done. That is a crazy rationalization, but really, when I take myself out of things, it's amazing the results. So I actually went to the other fellowship my first couple of years of recovery. I did do both AA and NA, but that was in the mountains, and I came here and I fell in love with AA here in the Pines, and I'm so grateful that I'm at the second best home group. No, I'm just kidding. I go to Primary Purpose over at the First Baptist Church, and I do see some of y'all over there, but I'm seeing a lot more of my detox people here, which I just love. I love seeing everybody here. I know a lot of people in the room tonight, and that's like a great Christmas, New Year's present for me to see all my people. Anyways, yeah, so when I came here, I joined over there at the Primary Purpose group. Brad Charles, well, sorry, I said last name, but we all know Brad. But anyways, he was one of the people that I knew from bartending downtown. Used to call it the Bermuda Triangle, where we had Bosticks and Neville's and Brooks or something. Anyway, Elizabeth. So he was the bartender down there. He was one of the people that I knew, and John T. were over there. But Brad had in the first 2 months, I think he had me co-chairing the programs committee or whatever. Come on, you'll do it with me. I'll show you how. But the opportunity for service and AA has been such a great experience to prepare me for life. So I had the opportunity to do some chairing, co-chairing, had the opportunity to be GSR, get to go to assemblies, learn about the service structure of AA, and how cool this program is. The no leaders, no governors or whatever, that we make decisions together. And sometimes we have a really hard time with that, but that's okay because we're a persistent lot. I still do have the honor of getting to go over to Castle Works once a month for a service position, and like I said, a life of service in AA. I can't wait till life slows down a little bit and I get to do a little bit more. I miss being as connected as I once was in my group, but the value of a home group, which I said it's nice. I know a lot of people here, but I'm accountable to the people in my home group, and if I don't show up for a little bit, like people start to call or text or something just to check to see if I'm okay. So another thing I recommend, if you don't have a home group, I recommend that you find one. You find a place that works for you, and if you haven't found the place yet, check out some more places, because we're very fortunate to have a lot of wonderful versatility as far as AA recovery goes around here. If you can't find what you're looking for here, maybe you're not looking at the right stuff. I always tell people, look for the similarities, not the differences. I think, all prior to my last go at recovery here, I was always looking for the differences and what was different about y'all and why I didn't completely belong. Even though the facts were obvious that I had a problem, I couldn't really see how I belonged. Now I know I belong, and that's been the biggest gift. Knowing that I belong, like it's good to have a place to belong. It's good to have a place where you're welcome. It's good to have relationships with my family. My dad's last 5 years of his life, he lived with me. I got an opportunity to make a living amends. Since I've been in recovery, I've been able to finish that bachelor's degree finally and get a master's degree, which I was never going to finish school. Anyhow, and then getting to work in the field has also been really cool. And I know that my work is not my recovery, but I love working with my people. So like you said, it is more than a job to me, and just seeing people make it one day at a time, and it's sad too, because a lot of us don't make it, and I'm sure, every year, every month we hear about people not making it. How blessed we are. We like I said, I don't know how I get to be the one who happens to be 6 feet above the ground with breath in my lungs with the life that I have today. It's not because I deserve it, but I do try to work hard to keep it. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say, and I'm not one to go on and on and on when I run out. But just wanted to say how grateful I am to be here. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. I love coming to this place. Y'all always have it decorated so nice, and I'm excited for you to have a New Year's Eve party coming up. That's cool. Making and I are volunteering for my sister for some sober transportation. It's good to be sober transportation, though. Yeah, it's just amazing the blessings I have in my life today, and I hope that you will find all the blessings in your life. Thank you.